right. Good morning. What is up? And welcome to the process, man. So today, I just let me just get into this immediately. This is the reason I have started recording this video. I'm recording this screen. Check out this beautiful wallpaper from Microsoft Bing Wallpapers. Told you they always make my day. Just fantastic, fantastic photography being served every day. This is a vertical image of a forest. Cool. Leadership Academy. Let's get into it, man. So, so many thoughts and so many ideas. So I figured, why don't we just pop this video on and we can get started and we can talk about it. I have had actually a frustration in trying to type down my thoughts, and this is going to be the way that I'm going to use this to make sense of that. Now, Leadership Academy, man. All right, let's just jump in there and see. Leadership Academy. Let me open this Notion page, and then it's going to be blank. And then maybe we'll talk about it. So I just got from reading Jim Rohn's a book that was written, I think, in the 70s, called Seven Strategies for Wealth and Happiness. And man, I just got so motivated. I just got so excited. And this book really helped me paint a new picture of my life, or how this life could be. And man, so I got so excited. I went ahead and even wrote a review. So let me look at my review on Goodreads. I've said, I have recently finished reading this book, so I'm still on the emotional hangover the powerful words and thoughts of Jim Rohn have done to me. The most value of this book, especially to me, was painting a picture of the possibility of a rich, wholesome life, a life of culture, sophistication, enterprise, the possibility for anyone to enjoy not only the success of material wealth, but also to access the richness of love and spirituality. The book then gave me 7 strategies to think about in designing this type of life. All powerful ideas. Questions that will enable me to redesign my life and my philosophy in these 7 areas. Finally, Jim Rohn let you know that you need to go to work. These strategies are not wishful thinking, they're not for manifesting or attracting. You will need to work on these things. In fact, he implores you to go ahead and start working on these strategies, challenges you put them into action, and see if it will not happen for you. I'm happy to share that I am off to work, and I will surely refer to this book many more times in the course of my life and transformation. That's why I give it 5 stars. Highly recommend it to other people. Right. So, like, this book has really, I think it has launched my thing and me wanting to. Let me go back 2 times. Right, so I'm supposed to go back to this book on my gallery. Why is it 7 strategies? Here we go. Open. Right, so let's open and we'll talk about a couple of the reviews that I have in here. So, right, this is, I started updating this last week. I read an hour, and then yesterday I finished reading this book. And here's a couple of thoughts that I have, and then we're going to go back to chisel out this Leadership Academy thing and what I think this Leadership Academy thing might turn to be. Right. So, review 1. So today I was really inspired by this book, especially when Jim Rohn said we need to set goals that help us define who we are. We should set 3 types of goals: short term goals, medium term goals, and long term goals. He continued to explain the power of goals, and I wondered to myself if I have done enough work to necessitate me getting what I want in life. Now, I also remember thinking, man, it's so easy to not do those things such a book proposes. I mean, after all, I have already read through it. I don't have to apply whatever I just read. I thought, what if I apply these tools? How can my life be transformed, right? Like, it's so easy to just read books, read articles, watch YouTube videos, watch Ali Abdal, watch Thomas Frank, get all these ideas on productivity and transformation and not actually apply them into your life. You understand? This is such an interesting thing. So my mind went to someone like Miles Monroe, who is another leader that teaches a lot about planning, about vision, and about becoming all that you can become. And he talks about how he is a vicious planner. And I once watched a sermon where Miles Monroe said that the way he had planned his life, like he would need to live until he's like 90 for him to adequately achieve those things. Now that I've read this book, Seven Strategies for Wealth and Happiness, I'm thinking it makes sense. If there's some people who can master planning a day, some can master planning a month, some can master planning a year. Surely there are people who have mastered planning 5 years, others who have mastered planning 5 years, someone who have mastered, planning a decade, someone who have mastered planning a jubilee of 50 years, like in the next 50 years. What am I going to be? And I remember this thought came. I was watching the trailer for the Serena Williams Serena Williams movie. What is it called? It's coming out in October, in this month, I think. King Richard. Yeah. So I watched this trailer, King Richard, and when it opens, the dad says he had like a 70-page plan for their lives when let's just watch, and we're going to get into the mindset that I'm in about planning and about how Leadership Academy might be.
What's going on? Everybody okay?
They got a call, said there was trouble in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You all need to look around.
It's a little wet for practice, don't you think? Don't the girls have schoolwork to do?
They do their homework. Tundi's first in her class. Lynn and Isha are too.
Now I don't even mind you saying we hard on these kids. You know why? Because we are. That's our job, to keep them off these streets. You want to check on the kids? Let's check on the kids. We got future doctors and lawyers, plus a couple tennis stars in this house.
The chances of achieving the kind of success that you're talking about is just very, very unlikely.
Okay, you making a mistake, but I'm gonna let you make it. Watch them hit a few balls. All right. So tell me your names again.
I'm Venus.
I'm Serena.
So what'd you think? I wrote me a 78-page plan for their whole career before they was even born.
Yeah, that line, it shattered my life, where Will Smith says, I wrote a whole 78-page plan for their whole career before they were born. You know, I'm a dad, so it just got me thinking, do I even have a plan for my life? For my kids' life. Some parents out here are planning an entire career plan for their kids, and I know these things. You shouldn't plan for your kids. Like, I know, even me, I try to rebel from the plans that my parents had for me. That's a whole thing. That's a whole different thing. But I don't think it is for the kids. I think it is how you show up in the world, right? Like, they can decide to do whatever they want to do, but did you have an actual plan for your kids, for your next year, for your next 5 years, for your next 3 years, for your family and things like that? And just there's no reason for watching this trailer. I already got whatever I wanted to say. That a plan, I need to become a planner. I need to just become a planner and a man of vision. So that was the day one I read it. Then here is another idea that Jim Rohn teaches, that you should make losing painful. and I'm wondering what pains can I introduce in my life pertaining to my goals and things that I never made happen. I remember this thought coming into my head, like, okay, fine. So Jim Rohn says you should not only make winning sweet, you should also make losing painful. And I thought, what an interesting idea. I could, like, for example, not have coffee and suffer the consequences of not making what I wanted to happen. Just things like that. It was a bunch of ideas. That's cool. And so today, I came in the morning and I said, so I just completed reading the book yesterday. It was just laying on my shelf, and I got so motivated and inspired to go ahead and implement these strategies and thoughts into my life actively. And I just posted this review on Goodreads. So one of the thoughts I have right now is, what are some things that I can go ahead and implement immediately? So this entire book, this entire idea that Jim Rohn brings into perspective is that we want to be people who implement things, a man of action. And I wanted to be a man of action, and most especially I really wanted not to just be one of those people who read books and then proceeds to the next book. And because I realized it's such a thing that you could just read a book and move on to the next book. When how did I discover this thing that books could be valuable? Oh, this book actually just sitting on my side, this book, Making Ideas Happen by Scott Belsky, is the first book that I must have read 4 times, right? So the first time I just read through it, it was nice. I got those ideas, and then the second time when I came, I started, because it really addressed a lot of my pain points, feeling like really, really good creative, or someone with creative ideas and also ambition. Those two things, just ambition and creative ideas, but feeling stuck in the rut of never pushing these ideas off to completion. And especially Scott Belsky talks about something called the Project Plateau. The Project Plateau in this book, where he says, let me show you the Project Plateau. It says, so it's like a graph, right? And you launch your ideas, and it is, yeah. So, right. So, amount of energy and excitement is here, and the time during execution. So the amount of energy in a new idea is up here, and then when you start implementing it, the energy goes up, and then immediately it falls way down, and you fall into something called the Project Plateau, where now you're supposed to be implementing the small parts of the project, the daily things, this really just like silly things that are not as exciting, as this idea. And in the process of the Project Plateau, boop, you get a new idea. And you get started on your new idea, and you're back to that high. So it's like people who are creatives are addicted to a certain type of high. So what happened with this book, I started going back, and I was getting these gems, and I started implementing into my life, small bits and slowly by slowly. But I felt like if I really just had stayed in the pocket, I would have gotten this value, and I would have reworked this value. And therefore, wondering to myself, um, what can I implement immediately? So there's something about urgency and acting on new knowledge from this particular book. How can you become a person who acts on knowledge instead of just knowing a bunch of things, right? All right, so this is a question that I asked myself. How can I become a person who acts on knowledge instead of just knowing a bunch of things? One of the things is actually just acting. I'm reading a new book. It's called The Knowing Doing Gap. And The Knowing Doing Gap is an interesting book from like in the 1999. It's not even, it's pretty old. It's over 20 years old. And the authors in this book are Harvard research professors. And so I'm only in like chapter 2, I think. Chapter 1, it talks about the problem is talking instead of doing, and it tries to explore why do people talk instead of do. And a bunch of of reasons they get into. Um, but you realize that I think knowledge can be so addictive, and knowledge can be a balm um for action. Like, okay, fine, so I know about this. I know that I need to work on, say, my goals, but I'm not taking action against my goals. But I just know, like, I know about making ideas happen. I know about a productivity method called getting things done. I just, like, the other day I was on YouTube, and I learned about a new productivity method called Zettelkasten. Zettelkasten. Yeah, the Zettelkasten. Zettelkasten like, as a German idea of productivity, right? The thinking is, knowledge is so free, and especially in the knowledge economy, then the problem becomes, like, what do you do with all this knowledge that now you're having, right? So the question is, how can you implement lead knowledge that you get? So I want to implement this, and this is why I'm thinking about this thing called a leadership academy, and we're gonna get back to it and talk about it. So I thought, what is a workbook from James Ron's main ideas from this book that I can implement right away? That is how I thought about the Leadership Academy. Me starting my own academy and taking charge of my own growth and personal development. Right? So let's just talk about that a little bit. So the thing is, but you want, even Jim talks about this in this book. It's like a lifelong commitment of working, and especially the type of individual that Jim Rohn suggests for you to become in this book, the 7 strategies for wealth and happiness, is such like, I think, I don't know how to say, like a highly effective executive or something. Because for example, now, yesterday I was reading about in this chapter, managing your finances, right? And in managing your finances, James said that his mentor, Mr. Schoff, asked him, what is your balance sheet? What is on your balance sheet? Right? And then Jim was like, what do you mean a balance sheet? And Mr. Schoff says, everyone needs a balance sheet. It's very simple, something, personal thing that shows your assets and your liabilities, how much you owe and how much you own. Jim said how he went and had a very long list of assets, money he owed to the car company, to the mortgage, to the bank, and other people who he owed money. And then assets, he tried to put shoes, he tried to write everything he owns in that asset, right? And Mr. Schoff encouraged him that everyone needs to have a balance sheet so that they know their current financial standing. And then proceeds to talk about an idea that just unlocked something in my head. He says that you need to keep like a spreadsheet of how much money you make, how much money you spend, a real budget, for your life. And for me, I've tried this on and off so many times in my adult life, of keeping a real budget of how I spent money, but I've never actually done it. And he said you need to be thorough. There are people who say, he says, that I don't know where it all went. And James says, don't be one of those people. You have to be somebody who puts in the work. Everything that he suggests in these 7 ideas is so much work, and you have to be putting in the work. Therefore, if you need to be putting in the work, you need to be showing up every day uh, to your board, to my computer. For example, this is the place where I work. I have a digital workflow. I made this switch about 10 years ago, committed to a digital workflow, and I'm running away from pen and paper as much as I can. And I want to show up and take charge of my own leadership, of my own development, of me implementing these ideas, right? before you look at the 7 ideas, I had another thought just after I wrote them down this morning. I was like, so how can I milk the thoughts, the insights, and the ideas from a book that I felt had a huge impact on me instead of jumping and going to get another book immediately? And of course, I think having a book goal is important, but you don't need 100 books in your life. If one book was so transformative in your life, you can stay in the pocket for 100 more days. So this thinking is the same thinking that I might have shared like a moment before, that like if a book was so transformative, like the way this book has been so transformative in my life, you might want to just stay in the pocket and really walk through the exercises. I tried to online to search a workbook that so if somebody has done this workbook online, but I don't think this workbook exists, so maybe I might just make this workbook for myself, because um, under unlocking the power of goals, Jim goes into strategies for unlocking the power of goals. And I wondered if somebody has given a summary of the things you need to do. For example, unlock the power of goals. Number one, um, make short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, and then number them. Like that's a workbook, and then space. Do this, do this, do this. Seek knowledge and wisdom. Maybe have a book list, a growth list, and do this, do this, do this. All this is work. It requires time. Learn to develop yourself was an amazing chapter in who could you really become. Who could you become? Take a look at who you could become if you put these things into practice, man. And it just what it just really motivated me to turn my life around. Right, so let's go back to the Leadership Academy and think about how you're going to be doing this starting now. I use Notion for everything. um Maybe this is a good cue to show my Notion workflow. My Notion is mostly designed for personal development and harnessing the genius that escapes me quickly. I think I have like moments of clarity and moments of genius and moments of brilliance in some moments of the day, and then the rest of the time I'm just a zombie. But I really try to design this way in such a way that I can be actively doing this. Maybe I shouldn't really do that. I may wish I had links. Let me rush very quickly, and then let's open our Leadership Academy and think actively about what this is going to be. So what is this leadership come on, man, academy going to be? Maybe I want to say a daily um process of learning and growing and motivating and encouraging. I found out a lot, especially um, the value of motivation. So there's value in motivation because life as it is very hard, and and it's so easy to get bogged down in the weeds of working on your life, on your business, on your ministry, on your marriage, on your dreams, on your education. Like it could almost all feel like it's too much. But when you're motivated and when you have hope and you're encouraged, you can go ahead and just work through those things, because anyway, I'm working on my future. And this thing is not beneficial right now, but it's going to be beneficial, and I want that in my life. And I would love for me to be daily. So I mean, daily. I think daily would be. I would like to review books, share powerful insight, insights, and thoughts. Let's talk about this. So when I said it's so easy for me to get bogged down in the details and the messiness of my life and to get disillusioned and to become overwhelmed. Well, I found when I'm advising a friend or I'm having these conversations with a friend, I am so positive and encouraging. It is so interesting. But then when I'm left to my own devices, bruh, I put myself down. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. A friend of mine was thinking of starting a new course, a new life. Was thinking of ways they could develop themselves, maybe go back to school, maybe start something new that would change their lives dramatically and put them in a space where they achieve their goals. And having this conversation, I'm like, okay, do you think going back to school for this course would really change your life dramatically in that direction? Because whatever this friend of mine wanted to go back to school for is media studies, and media studies basically because this friend of mine wanted to make YouTube videos and maybe get a job in like a TV station, whatever. And I was like, do you really need to go to school for that? Or could you get started today by just using your phone and getting on YouTube and starting your own channel and putting out content every day? And just pushing that for the long haul until something happens. And we had this really, really great conversation where I was getting into it and asking this particular friend, okay, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Who's the ideal version of you? What does this person do in a day? Who does this person help in a day? And man, just these powerful, powerful, powerful questions that Jim Rohn asks in this book, The 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness, that they really paint a picture of possibility for you. When we had that conversation, this friend of mine was motivated, encouraged, inspired, ready to take on new goals. And this friend of mine told me, like, I'm so motivated, I'm inspired. I think I have all the answers that I need. All I need to do is just make a decision. And I was wondering to myself, how is it possible that I've just done this for a friend of mine? How is it possible that for like the 1 hour that we spent together, I have been motivational, I have encouraged, and I've shared these things that I genuinely believe in, but sometimes don't act in accordance to these things? It was very, very interesting. I figured I get it's like it was a lot like I was advising myself, by the way. It wasn't really that I was giving this friend of mine advice. I was just saying stuff that I also know I desperately need to do. For example, I don't need to go to school for media studies, for a YouTube channel. I know I just need to start creating content right away. That is the thing that I'm avoiding to do by considering going back to school. Well, I know I could just start posting content right now. I can pop up my camera, make my first video, and just go and keep going and learn along the way. Oh, but since that is so tough for me and it's such a fear ingrained in my mind, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna push that forward until maybe I go back to school. And then maybe when I'm done with my degree in media studies, maybe I can start a YouTube channel because I will know what I need to do and whatever and whatever and whatever. So it turns out that I have access to wisdom. I have access to advice, even online when I Google stuff that I don't know. I have access to expert advice actually over every area of life, and that's the most interesting thing about even the 21st century. What I don't have access most times is my willingness to match up to this new information that has just come into my life. Like I, for example, read the 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness. Strategy number 1 is they want you to make goals. Jim Rohn wants you to set your goals. He wants you to be deliberate and set your goals. But you just don't. So that's a whole problem. But I realize again when I share these insights and thoughts and I hear myself speak these things, I kind of believe in it. It's like I believe that I believe these things, right? And it's interesting because personally, I feel like there are two people inside of me. Okay, that sounds weird. I feel like my, how can I say it? It's also weird. I know what I need to do, but I know there's a part of me that rebels against the things that I need to do. And so the smarter part of me needs to overcome this lazier version, this fearful version of me. I think, what's his name? There's an author, the one who wrote Purple Cow, and I always keep forgetting his name. It's so interesting. He once I once watched a YouTube video where he talked about this, and he says this is our reptilian brain, that we have a reptilian brain where our reptilian brain apparently. So this is like evolution. I don't know. Maybe it was chicken brain. It's designed for fight or flight. When something happens, the first instinct we get is either fight or flight, and there's that part that is still very instinctive in like life, in the human nature. So when something happens, either you're going to fight or you're going to run away. And so what you want to do is to understand how you can overcome this reptilian brain when you're in new situations, so that instead of either fighting it or running away from it, you embrace it and you find ways to grow around that area. So yeah, when I share powerful insights and thoughts, man, I end up believing it. I end up believing myself, because I said that I am powerful. I said that I'm motivational and stuff like that. So, all right. So it should be a daily process. I would like to review books. I would like to share powerful insights and thoughts, because I end up believing in myself. Maybe that's just like a side thought. What else could I be doing? I don't want to use this opportunity to be reading. I thought I could build a community. So, of our leaders and yeah, just leaders. So, in this book, one thing that I think I have avoided for like a few years is the last part of this book. It's an opportunity for responsibility and accountability. Man, this book tells you that what you want to do at the end of having your ideas is sticking your name on your ideas and putting it out there and telling people this is what I want to do. And so I'd like to build a community of leaders. One of the things I also want to build a community of leaders, um, would help me be accountable. So I always wanted to have an accountability partner. A life account, so not my wife actually. It's interesting. I think my wife is my accountability partner. Why not my wife? It's so weird for me to explain that, because we talk about everything, but how can I explain that? That's interesting. That's a new thought that just dropped in my head. I feel like I don't want to say that. Well, maybe I can say that in the past I've had instances where, like, if I don't do what I said I would do, like my wife can't kill me, type thing, right? And I just feel like there's love and there's grace like around our home and around our family, and as much as we keep each other accountable, I just don't think there's that like a push, desperate push. Like if my wife pushes me and she feels like I'm not moving, she stops. It's interesting. Maybe it's love, right? Maybe it's care. If she said, hey, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing, you said you're gonna do this, and I don't do it consistently, she stops. For example, there's something I'm supposed to do in this month. And she must have told me like 3 times, hey, you're supposed to do this. Hey, you said you're gonna do this. Why didn't you do this? And then I just like snobbed all 3 times, and she's never brought it up ever again. So you understand how I'm saying it's a weird dynamic. And even for her, there are a bunch of things that she said, I probably think I'm gonna do this, and then I would follow up and follow up, and then it's just things she could, yeah, body language and whatever, and I just stop. I never go back. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel that they are bad people. She's a bad person for not doing it. Just feel it's like, it's whatever. It's life, right? So, no, I think so. A community of leaders is a different type of accountability apart from a life partner. I don't know. It's something I'd be willing to also grow and learn about. So I would love to have this community of leaders who can keep me up accountable. And if it's you, I don't know how we can set this up. I thought of having like a weekly Zoom call, an email list maybe, or a Facebook group. But I'm more inclined towards an email list right now and a weekly Zoom call. It's instead of a Facebook group. So a Facebook group, somebody could find you, right? But I think a weekly Zoom call it's like you have to be in my network to do it. I saw one video once on YouTube that I thought I really wanted that. One of the leaders I was following there, I forget his name, probably should have saved, talked about the importance of um like a weekly check-in, where they would check in maybe like a Tuesday night or whatever, for like an hour or two, and they would go through their goals. This is what we said you're going to accomplish last week. We said you're going to do A, we said you're going to do B, we said you're going to do C, we said you're going to do D. Where are we on that spectrum? And why are we lagging around? And what can I do so that I carry my weight, so that I'm able to grow as a person and as a leader? So man, I would really, really want that for myself. Because I believe, now this is another thought that I had this morning. Maybe let me just write it down. I wrote it down in my journal that so Jim Rohn says personal develop no income, really income, bruh, can't type, exceeds personal development. Right, so income really exceeds personal development. And I was thinking about that this morning. And another quote is that like money is a consequence of value. And in the book, Jim Rohn talks about how when you've developed more as a leader, you are more valuable. And then when you're more valuable, you're able to command a higher salary, higher pay in life. And we're not talking about tasks that you are able to do more tasks. You're talking about you're more valuable. You affect the bottom line of your organization in a major way. Like ever since they brought you in, the revenue has grown significantly. People have changed. You've worked hard to bring new processes and teams, and so all these things is the value that comes with an individual. So income rarely exceeds personal development. So in a thought that I had this morning was so then how can I consciously work on myself throughout my life, right? Throughout my life. So I want to use this opportunity to build a value. Use this opportunity, and I don't yet know how this looks like, but I know I really want to do this in this leadership academy. So how long are we in? All right, cool. In this leadership academy, right? About 40 minutes in. I mean, keep going for maybe 15 minutes, and then I'll be done. Cool. Another thing could be book reviews. Another thing apart from book reviews, we could walk through maybe I don't want to say psychology, but walk through. So let me just write, and maybe I'll explain, and later on I could limiting beliefs, limiting habits, limiting thinking, limiting X, right? So I know it's another thing that Jim Rohn talked about in his book. So you're going to find that I think this book has really motivated me. So Jim Rohn says that Mr. Shoff, his mentor, came into his life when Jim was 30. Interesting, I'm also 30. He just turned 30. And Mr. Shoff asked Jim, so you started working when you're about what, 20, 21, 22. What do you have? Oh no, they met when he was 25, not 30. Yeah, 25. He'd been working for 5 years. I've also been working for roughly like 5 years, right? And then, and then, and then, Mr. Shoff asks Jim, whoa, what was the question? Was I going with this? So my mind just went to how someone else started working on this when he was 25, and I'm starting to work on it when I'm 30 years old, and I feel like that gap. But Mr. Shoff asked Jim, or told Jim rather, that you've been living like this for the past 5 years, and nothing has changed for you. In fact, you're in debt, you're living paycheck to paycheck. What you need to do is to change how you live, right? And so my thinking, even for myself, tough love, tough reality type thing, is that my circumstances haven't changed for the last 10 years or the last 5 years of being a creative professional. I haven't unlocked that level of business that I wanted, because I've been doing some things in a similar fashion for the last 5 years, right? Like, this is so true. When I was reflecting, was reading the book, I saw this reality starting to come up. That look, man, like, the reason why you're here is because, like, you made these choices, right? Like, everything I made those choices. I decided to not make that call. I decided to not finish that work in time. I decided to take more work that I had no capacity to do. And all these things, like, all those things are my decisions. And it's not entirely the way I like to say it was the market. And even Jim Rohn says something about that, about not being somebody who makes excuses. Just refrain from excuses and taking responsibility for where you are right now in life. That for me is like what I'm taking away. So because of that, I know that I have some limiting patterns of thinking, even limiting patterns of thinking in work, in business, in marriage, in relationships. I have things that I need to change how they happen on a basic level for me to now start affecting change in the top line. Man, this idea about personal development is so true and is so real, because once you start studying success and you start studying successful people, you realize, man, just an email's gonna pop up on my screen like that. Just don't show up, man. Ugh. Oh, when you start studying successful people, you realize there's a pattern to it. And Jim Rohn says, study successful people. And a quote, success leaves clues. The first clue that I started learning from anyone who's successful is that they are hard workers, that they put in the work and they are thorough and they have rigor, you know? So if indeed people who I know are successful hard workers, wouldn't it be so hard for me to embrace a little bit of that hard work in my life? No, it wouldn't be. And if I really wanted to, and I wanted it that badly, then definitely I would change some of those limiting beliefs, limiting habits, limiting patterns of thinking, and other limiting excess. Right? I would love to work through these things. So more like it's like a psychology thing, like therapy. We're just getting in there and getting down to the bottom of things. I'm working right now. I'm working on my time management or my procrastination. Why do I think I procrastinate? Or what are some key problems in my procrastination? Maybe I feel like I don't have enough time. Why is it I don't have enough time? How do I spend my time? Do I spend it doing random stuff like watching YouTube videos when I need to be working? Or I'm just not motivated? Why am I not motivated? Maybe I don't have a clear why. Why don't I have a clear why? Maybe I just don't have that fire up my butt. And just working through this type of things, I think would be very beneficial to me in this process of this leadership academy. Right. Cool. Oh, that was quite something. Let me delete these 7 strategies for wealth and happiness, or maybe you keep it in. Let me add motivated me to get started on this new process. You see, I'm working on a new process I started yesterday. And this process also just comes from me reading Jim Rohn. And Jim, interesting. I really probably need to make a workbook out of this book because it seems to be very, very transformational. Maybe it's also because I've listened to a lot of whatever he says on YouTube too. People just I think he done a lot of talks that people have translated into YouTube videos, right? But I'm saying, now let me leave that. So, what is Leadership Academy going to be? Let me make that something like a H1 turn into H1, right? So, I'm thinking a daily process of learning, growing, and motivating and encouraging myself. I would like to review books, work through limiting beliefs, share powerful insights and thoughts. I could build a community of leaders who will ever be accountable. All right, and then use this opportunity to build value. So, what is value for me? I think articles too, books, talks. Not so much books, but talks and things like that. That could be an important leadership academy for me. Why? I've talked about this. Why? I want to grow my income and my influence, and also all those other things that come with a good life. So I want this. This is genuinely what I want in life. Like I want to build my income and my influence. One of the reasons I really want to build my income is because of my family. I have a family, I have a wife and a kid. And man, like it just what more can I say? That's enough fire up my butt. So I need I want a home for them. I want good clothes for them. I want good education for my kids. I want more kids. So like if having one kid just feels this expensive, what about four, right? And so if as a man, you just know that like there's no stopping, there's no relenting. Like this journey and this fight, you're in it. Like you're in it for life, man, until death, until when you drop. So I want to build income and influence. I want to unlock my potential. I feel like I have a lot of potential in even areas of such as speaking. So I do also MC. Um, I have started MCing weddings just a few months ago, but I was MCing a bunch of concerts back when I was younger, and I used to do these concerts in church, and I was MCing that. I feel like I have a gift, I guess, of public speaking. I don't get butterflies no more. It's okay. I noticed this when I was very young, when I was 13, before I went to high school. I had an opportunity to talk. Um, in my primary school, I was the head boy during a parents' day, and I remember this so vividly. Even like when I close my eyes, I can remember that season during our prayer day in class 8. I remember it so vividly because they asked the head boy to come and give a speech, and then I winged it. I took the mic, I greeted the parents, I asked them who they were, I told them what we've been doing, I told them that we've been putting in the time. I told them that we hope our exams won't be like the KCSE, so that year KCSE for the high school students. Yeah, one in like two papers they had printed it wrongly, like upside down. At the entire paper, they had one page that was upside down, and this really threw off some of those kids. And I remember saying that, and the parents laughed so hard. I remember looking back at one of my teachers, and he was so excited. He was clapping. And then another parent reached out to me and asked me, "Who are you? What's your name?" And I said, "You have so much potential." And I remember that just being such a stamp of approval that I could maybe talk in front of people. I remember it so vividly. Um, Remembering things so vividly, remembering stories and conversations, I think is also another thing that is a gift that I have. So I've talked about talking, public speaking. There's another gift that I feel I have is like remembering conversations. I would remind people conversations that we had like years ago, and they would tell me like, "Bro, I don't even remember saying something like that." And I started thinking, "Whoa, that's powerful. I need to work on that." So I feel like I have a lot of potential that's just hidden in me, waiting to come out. I feel I'm creative. I think I have leadership potential. I'm a bit extroverted, outgoing. So I really want to unlock a lot of potential that is in me and just stop living in this shell and in this cocoon of a person that I could be, right? Yeah, so that's one of my reasons, man. I start feeling very emotional, man, because like I feel I haven't been good to me, right? In the last decade, a few weeks ago, I wrote on my journal that John needs to do what's best for John, and I just started wondering, why haven't I, like, what so self-sabotage? Why am I most likely to self-sabotage? It was so interesting for me to look at some of my self-sabotage tendencies. Like in the past, I've dealt with thoughts of suicide and anxiety and depressive thoughts, and giving up on everything and just bouncing and leaving and never coming back type thoughts. And I was very, very curious, like that pattern of self-sabotage, where did it come from? And even though like that pattern of thinking, that way of showing up, doesn't show itself anymore in those thoughts, those like dark thoughts of suicide and running away, it definitely does show up in me knowing my potential and not like rising fully to the occasion. And I remember just thinking, man, John has to do what's best for John, right? And like John has to do what's best for John. Like there's no in between. If I want to live the good life, if I have all these gifts that I've been given, I need to do what's best for me. And I think for you too, if at all anybody watches this video, anyone who watches this video needs to do what's best for them. That starts by showing up, and that starts by working to unlock your potential. Whew, so I was so emotional. I don't know if I have another why. Why else? Why else? Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. You're a big man, grown man. what are some of my fears, bro? Let me talk about some of my fears. So I am so unsuccessful. Yeah, so this fear is so strong, bro. Like when I think about doing a leadership academy, I thought one time, excuse me, bro, that's the coffee coming out. I thought one time of doing this thing where like I'm documenting my growth in different areas. So now I just started doing it and I have power. I started doing it on this new YouTube channel. Let me minimize this new YouTube channel, my profile, and I'll tell you some of my fears. So it's so surprising that I have subscribers in this channel. This is where I'm going to be posting a lot of these videos. And I've been learning JavaScript. Jay told me the other day, what video is this that has 15 views? And even me, this one has 20. And even me, I got so I started wondering, bruh, what is this video that has 20 views? Because I'm mostly only the one who's been doing JavaScript and doing this thing, and I'll be posting a lot of these personal videos, long form videos, 2 hours, 1 hour, as you can see, 1 hour, 49 minutes, 42 minutes, 2 hours, long form videos of me just showing up and putting in the work. And my fear is that I'm so unsuccessful. I feel like there's so many. I feel like there's so many better people. There are than me, you know. Like I feel like even when it comes to money, who do you think you are sharing your journey? Who do you think you are? Like, bruh, people are making like X amount of money per month. You're here bragging about your 500 bob, and this feeling I wonder, where it comes from. I thought a lot about where it comes from. I think it's the idea where it's the idea that to be motivational you need what is monol tiana motivation. You need to share like wins, right? I don't have so many wins, or maybe I do and I just haven't done a good job of articulating them. So when I think about like people who have wins, I feel like some people have just won like, so much more than me. Like, who am I to contribute to this? And that's some of my fears with starting this leadership academy. Another fear two, is what to do. I feel like I do not know enough to talk about it. One time when I was young, not so young, like a few years ago, in my 20s, my early 20s, I shared with a friend of mine. Told her, hey, what? So I've always been into like this type of stuff, leadership, business, minus the success that comes with the territory. I was like, yo, what if we start going to like primary schools and high schools and start sharing like secrets to success, secrets to wealth, how to become a good business person? Because I felt like I had the template for like business and stuff. You know, when you read a lot of these books, you kind of know what you need to do, but minus the hard work and the discipline, probably like nothing will happen. So I remember my friend telling me, hey, now, for example, like you, what business have you made successful for you to teach other people? And if they ask you that question, what are you going to answer? And it was just like a big, like, whoa. Like when you say you're going to teach people business, what do you know? And then this came up a few weeks ago, and I think maybe that's why I'm going so hard at this again. it's that those feelings of unsuccessful and what do you know. I had a conversation with my parent. We were talking about just life in general. No, we talk about a lot about life, and they keep it really like 100. They keep it 100 with me. They tell me the truth, and sometimes it's so tough. And this time in particular, it was just so tough. And we are talking about. I was really looking at ways of increasing my income, and so my dad suggested that I need to go back to school and then get a job. And then I wasn't feeling it, right? I wasn't feeling the idea of, first of all, going back to school, second of all, getting a job. Like, bruh, me, I'm committed to this creative life type thing. And I remember him saying, so what are you going to do if you're not going to do that? I said, I'm just going to get into business and keep going down this business road, right? And he asked me a very tough question, bro, that shattered my entire. Let me just tell you, he said, so like you've been at it for like about a decade, right? You've been like doing a creative entrepreneurship for a decade. Like, what do you have to show for it? Type thing, you know. Ah, and that was like just like a mountain dropped on my lap for me to look at it and to stare at it. Okay, fine. It's like it's true, right? It's true. Like even if I felt whatever, it's so true. I cannot say that in the last decade of being a creative entrepreneur that I've made a killing. You understand? I can't say that like this creative business for me like it has taken me off the charts. Like I'm still kind of broke. You kind of have money, but kind of broke. You know what that is like, man. So you have money for just like your life is good. Your people are eating. You can move around. You dress well, but you don't have extra cash for even just for new experiences or things or for example like a car. I don't have a car right now. It's one of those things, right? It's one of those things. It comes up in my mind once in a while. And so when he asked me that question, like you've been at it for a decade, what do you have to show for it? It was like one of those things like, okay, fine, cool, man, it's true, what do I know? Right, what do I know? So that's one of the fears, bro. One of the fears even sharing this process. I'd be like, okay, fine. So like you guys, but you're not like as successful. When you say every day you're going to be doing a leadership academy, you're not as successful. And I know, like, and I know, I'm dealing with like a lot of things that I need to drop. For example, like just like even inconsistency is one of those things. Just it kills me so much, inconsistency. Because I think I'd be leading gym run every week so that I can be motivated and consistent. Yo, maybe that is a trick. Maybe I could commit. I must read gym run just so that I can find that consistency. But that's like a legit thing that I struggle with. Yeah, that's another thing actually. By the way, I struggle with inconsistency and not pushing all my ideas to completion. Right, this is a legit fear, bro. You know me, like the things I've started in this life, even small businesses. There's so many, but I feel like I have just like I have a bunch of dead babies behind me. Uh, shit, I was thinking about it yesterday. This book, Creativity Inc. It talks about killing your baby, which I know it's tough, but it talks about it in like a creative context, right? If you're creating something, a creation, say a movie, you want to kill your babies, you want to kill those ideas that won't work, so that you can find the one that works. Um, but what happens when you just keep killing them and you actually never find something that works? You just end up having a bunch of dead babies on your path, and it weighs a ton. It weighs such a ton. So one of these things is like, okay, fine. So I'm trying to commit to a new leadership thing, to do a leadership academy. I know number one, I feel unsuccessful. Maybe I should say I'm not so successful. So I feel like I'm so unsuccessful because there are areas, and there's maybe just to reiterate, I'm sharing with my brother about some of my struggles with finances. I was like, bruh, you know how lucky you are. You have family, you have a job, you get some money at the end of the month. You are so much better than so many people, which is true. But also, I feel like there's so many people who are better than me, like significantly. And maybe this is that lifestyle creep happening to me because I'm now a 30-year-old man. Who knows? Like, these are just a bunch of thoughts and feelings. So, yeah. Um, so that's the feeling. Then the next feeling, I don't know enough about it. And then this third one is I struggle with inconsistency. And so what this does, and Jim Rohn talks about it in his book, is that you see, no, is it Jim Rohn? Also, Jim Rohn says it, but I've just remembered a quote from Atomic Habits, where James Clear says that when you do something, it casts a vote to the type of person that you think you're trying to become. So when I'm consistent, I cast a vote to being an entrepreneur, for example. That's how I see myself, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. Yeah, man. So those are my fears. Do I have any other fear? Got emotional real quick. Have there? What's something else that I don't know. Just if I can able to um this inconsistency thing comes with so many layers and so many thoughts. When sometimes I think I won't have enough uh enough money to sustain Zoom and YouTube. But this is such a superficial thought because I haven't even started. It's like me saying, okay, fine, I'm trying to do this, but I won't even have enough money to buy data and go live every single day. I'm so worried about things that have not even happened. And so, like, those are things I need to rework. And I want this to be a very, very active process. Okay, fine, cool. So I've talked about my why and I've talked about my fears. I want to finish by being positive, etc. And I'm gonna come back maybe tomorrow or some other time when I get an opportunity to work on this thing called my leadership academy. How can I finish by being positive? I have been going in every single day now to look at my 10-year plans and goals, and maybe I could share that soon. But I just want to, maybe in a separate video, maybe the next video, I'm going to jump into goals and dreams, and we can start walking through this 7 strategies of wealth and happiness, and how we can start incorporating all these thoughts and things and processes into our lives, and how we can start just being very, very conscious and being very thorough every day. I figured an hour is not so much. I can spend an hour. I can find an hour. I can find in the morning. I can find it just before I go to bed. I can always find an hour. An hour is not so much. 4 hours, probably I can't find 4 hours. But I can always find an hour. And so just I know today is day one. So today is Groundhog Day. And we're hitting the ground and we're hitting it running. And I believe that this is going to be a process of learning and a process of growth and a process of experiencing life and just business and wisdom and unlearning old behaviors and trying to learn new behaviors. We're students here. An academy means it's a student. I'm a student. An academy means it's a process. And an academy means that I have to come out of the academy as a top student, and I'm committed to coming out as a top student. And what do I need to know to become a good leader? What do I need to know to affect change? How can I change personally to become a disciplined individual? To transform my life and my fortune and my kids' lives. I also want my children to be disciplined and hardworking and I want to pass down this is some of my superficial, not superficial, this is actually a very real reason for me. I want to grow my income in friends. I also want to model this life to my kids. I legit want to model this life to my kids, man. I like when I ask them to be disciplined, I want them to see a life of discipline in me. When I ask them to show up in their work, I want to model showing up to work, right? So they say that kids don't learn from what you say, they learn from what you do. And oh man, how horrible could it be from a parent who doesn't do what he says, or he does not aim to even be better than he was yesterday? I think that is so wrong, and that is so wrong. I am motivated to know because Jim Rohn is a millionaire, right? Was a millionaire, and I mean, some of my fears actually. This idea that motivation videos and content are for losers. This thought came in my mind the other day, man, and I was thinking that actually these motivation videos and content are for losers, bro. That people who are watching a bunch of motivation videos on YouTube, they're not rich people. They're just people who wish to be rich, so they're like wishful thinking type people. And there's a lot of videos against this type of thing. Also, like on YouTube is interesting because there are people who are like pro motivation, pro personal development, and then the other people who say you guys are stupid, you guys are being sold to a life and a drug, and you're buying it, and you are wrong. You know, and in a way, I can get it. Like, it's very true for you to be in that place where I'm just buying, I'm drinking from this Kool-Aid of motivation, grind, but I'm not growing. Nothing is changing in my life. It's like I'm just reading all these things to remain the same. And I think for a lot of people, they're on that treadmill, and they validate this thing because they're constantly reading motivational books, they're constantly reading business books, but they're not putting in the hard work. Therefore, their lives are not changing. And people from this other side who are just like maybe generally hardworking but do not care about like motivational type thing, they're like, bruh, you read all those how to get rich type books and you're poor. We just work hard, we got more money than you. So you're a loser. I'm so lucky I framed that in my mind just this moment, because it then means just motivational videos and content are for losers who don't put in the work. So until next time when I listen back, I'll know. The thing that separates people who consume this type of content and are successful, it's just the work. And that's what Jim Rohn even says, bro. It's like if you affirm, if you go for affirmations and the power of positive thinking without putting in the work, you'll stay on that rabbit you know treadmill where you're going to read how to be rich, and then get rich quickly, and then how to unlock the power of your mind, and then how to unlock the power of influence, and then how, like, all these things that you could just probably get from one book, and then start working and go to work and go to work and go to work. And I want to build articles, and I also want to make progress on work. I really want to work, bro. I don't want this just to be an opportunity for me to just process a bunch of emotions, but I want to make progress on work. I have a business that I'm building. I have a whole ministry that I'm running. I have departments that I'm trying to grow on. I have new hobbies that I'm building, character, family, and I want to make progress on all those areas of my life, bro. And so I can't stop. I can't stop now. Man, thank you so much for tuning into this Leadership Academy. It's been so much fun to get started on the process of growth. I can't wait for where this is gonna go, and it's going to have an amazing time. So see you, and let's go, bro. Psh.